everyone, and welcome to another horrific review. It's been a while since I've done one of these on my own, if I'm honest with you. I hope I can remember how to go about it. Yeah, the last, how long has it been? It's been about a month or so, at least, more than that. Every stream I've done has been with someone else. So here I am on my own talking about a movie. Let's see how that goes. Right. You probably noticed yesterday. Oh, there you are on it. Never wanted to be a good review. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. Yeah, okay. There's Oliver on. Good to see you, mate. The chat's filling up tonight already. But is this like an anticipated stream or something? People going to turn up from all over the show? Right, so as you know, Chris very kindly sent me a Blu-ray, completely unexpected. If you know major problems getting hold of this movie when it came out, the distribution just decided to not sell their distribution arm of the company that serviced Europe and the UK. So they they just scuttled their own movie before it even started. Absolute madness that the decision these studios make. Right, and then when it came out, I'm the warm-up actor, right? Am I the fluffer? Is that the way it is? Right, I'm the fluffer. Good to know. Good to know I have some sort of function in the world. But am I management potential? That is the question. Right. Yeah, so this movie was doomed before it began. They completely screwed it up in terms of distribution. Like a simple thing of tried and tested method of getting movies out. They can't get it right. They're just the morons that work in movie studios, and just this absolute clump of dopey bastards. Let's just put it like that. They are stupid, can't do their jobs. Their meritocracy's gone. They can't even get a movie out. So anyway, I didn't get to see this when it came out. The long story short, didn't get to see this when it came out. Because of stupidity, I lost interest. So I didn't even try to see it when it came out in streaming. And then lo and behold, yesterday. Was it yesterday or Friday? I'm losing track. No, it was yesterday. God. Yesterday, got a random package in the post and it's like, holy crap, right? So of course I did the unboxing yesterday. You can check it out. And Chris very kindly sent me the Blu-ray. So only right that I stick it on and review it. Now, this has been one of them polarizing movies. But then everything's polarizing today, so it doesn't really mean anything. People either hate it or love it. And if you love it, you're a dick. And if you hate it, you're a dick. And blah, 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 blah. Even growing up, the school playground had more mature politics in it. There group rivalries and shenanigans going on than today on the internet. Like, I keep thinking to myself, right, these are kids on the internet. They're 12-year-olds. That's the only way that I can rationalize in my mind the way people talk about stuff. But no, they're fully grown adults in their 30s, 40s, and above, which is fucking scary. Need to say anything, but let's go. This is going to be a really frustrating review, like proper frustrating, because the bones of a great movie were right there. Let's start off, right? It looks amazing, apart from a couple of the main things that should have looked great, but they don't. But the set piece, the Demeter itself, the internal, the inside of Demeter, like you really do feel you're on a ship. Even the ocean part looks really good. Like you get the whole sense. It's not a CGI boat on a CGI sea. Like you feel like you're on a ship. Absolutely brilliant. The set piece, we start off with the initial, it's on the docks in Romania. They're looking for extra hands. And that's where we meet Clemens, because, they've race swapped Clemens, by the way. We'll come to that later, because actually it's not an issue at the start of this movie. He's just another, well, not really, because it just, the camera light, you may as well just got spotlights to go, here's the main character. Like, you're getting beaten over the head of this, and I'm like, oh my god, it's going to be one of these movies. Which is just stupid, because they've actually cobbled themselves. By the way, the director, André Øvredal, he did Troll Hunter, which is the only found footage movie I like. And he did The Autopsy of Jane Doe. So this guy can make good movies. So I have a funny feeling it's the writers. Oh, no, sorry, I've actually forgotten this already. I only watched it yesterday. No, we'll start off with the ship crashing. I had to go and research the book again because I was scratching my head because the Demeter crashes off Whitby Bay. And if you're familiar with the UK, that's way up in the north. Like, and you're talking about the North Sea, and the Demeter was heading for London. Like, to go that far off course was a stretch. But it turns out in the book, that's where it crash landed. And I was going, bloody hell, did they not even get that right? And you get the bobbies there. They're going down to the shore. They're investigating the ship, and you see one of the young lads is retching, from what he's seen inside, and he's like, can't go in there again. Here's a scene that really pissed me off, and this has nothing to do with it. It's just the young police officer, the young constable, has the ship's log in his grasp. Now it's bucketing down a rain, and they've knocked the inspector up, and he's come down, and he's like, oh, give that to me. Opens the book in the rain, and the rain's pouring down from his hand. And of course, it's to get the effect of water dripping in the ink. And you're like, who does that? What the hell are you going to solve right there, right now, opening a book written in quill and ink in the fucking rain? And that just set my OCD. Like, my OCD meter just went bing, just, and it broke it. Not even 3 minutes in, I'm swearing at the TV, going, fucking close that book, get that under your coat, what are you doing? Sometimes they do dramatic stuff, and you could have just looked at the cover and then, quickly under the coat. Never could have progressed, but no. We had this elongated scene of him opening the book, which has given me the impression that this, because it's based on a chapter, right? There's just a chapter in Bram Stoker's Dracula. Now, I don't have it, unfortunately, anymore, but the book itself's that thick. It's not it's a novel. It's not a huge book, and it's only a chapter in it and Bram Stoker's Dracula is written a bit. It's not a traditional novel. It's written a bit like Call of Cthulhu. It's done through first-hand accounts of letters and logs and so forth. So it's that style of writing. So this chapter is taken just from the captain's log when he talks about seeing strange things, etc. So straight away you're padding out to make a movie out of this. Bit of a strange choice. They may as well have just done Dracula again, but then again, the way this movie turns out, maybe better than didn't. So yeah, we'll get that whole thing. Start off with the tail to head, what happens, and then we'll go to Romania where they're loading. They're looking for 3 crew hands to get the stuff back, excuse me. And this is where we meet Raistrup, Clements, and he may as well have been sparkling. He may as well put a sparkling look on. I'm the main character, because that's the way I've set him up. But they're lining up because this is the way things are done. Just right, I need three men for the ship, and he turns up and goes, I'm a ship's doctor. He's like, no, need crew hands. And then they did this whole thing of looking at his hands, so your soft hands and stuff, and blah 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 blah. What Englishman wants to go back to England, sort of thing. Just making, and he's getting on the ship because you've already had the spotlight, so he's getting on the ship. So this is all filler, and it's just annoying. They could have just saved a lot of time. The man, right? Oh, we need a ship's doctor. Boom. But no, that this whole thing dragged out. So they picked 3 other crew members. They're loading up the ship, and of course the crates. If you know the 11 crates from Vlad's castle, Count Dracula's castle, comes, and of course one of the deckhands who's just hired sees the dragon crest, and then he freaks out, and the captain's wee lad, of course, just happens to be underneath the thing is about to fall, and of course Clemens that he's a superhero to save him because that's how he gets on the ship. Can you just went, oh, we need a ship's doctor, boom, done. No. I had this whole dramatic, like this guy may as well just winked at the camera. I told you to get on. That's the way they've phrased them. So you're going to dislike him anyway. So when stuff comes on later, you're just like, because it's so on the knuckle, and it's not Andre's style. This is not his style of movie. So I'm calling studio interference and stupidity because he normally makes good tight dramas. And you can see that he's trying to do it, and you can see something else is being shoved in through this movie because, like I said, everything was right. And when we actually get onto the ship itself and underway, the tension and the dramas there, the crew and all his sort of trademarks of the movie. And then you've got this random crap that just pops up now and again. You're like, the hell is this? So I need to say, fluff. Onto the ship they go. When one of the crates drops, you will see the Earth fall out because the Earth and the homeland thing. Fair enough. That's, who's this movie aimed for? Did you need that explained? That, it was enough for the Dragon Crest. We know it's Dracula. If you're familiar with the story before you even start, it's Dracula. There's a reveal later on when he opens, because of course they're going to open the crates. The Earth from the homeland. They could have waited then, but no, you couldn't wait. They shot the road early. Oh, it's the Earth from the homeland, and nobody, really annoying. And this is what I find frustrating about the movie. It's a stupid stuff. Basically treating the audience like morons. That's what I hate about these sort of movies. When you've got those sort of scenes put in that treat you like you're an idiot. Because this sort of movie isn't for the casual, I want to go see a horror movie at Halloween sort of person. This is somebody who's invested in the Dracula story, who wants to see this tale told. That's the audience this is for. So therefore, there's going to be no surprises. And I think you need to be aware of that when you're adapting stuff like this. You're not there to put your own stamp on it. You're not to remake the wheel. You're not there to make your own name great by, oh, this is my take on the tale. No, just a faithful adaptation and do the best you can and make it exciting. That's all you have to do. And guess what? People will laud you for it. I refer once again to Peter Jackson. If you want that, if you want an example of that, he is still lauded to this day. And next week, by the way, Return of the King turned 20 years old today, and next week we're covering it. So there you go. That's going to be a fun one. But there you go. 20 years later, still being lauded, and he didn't put his stamp on it, or retell a tale. He just stuck to what was there. It's really not hard to please the audience. Honestly, I don't get why these people do this silly shit, because it doesn't add anything. And all it does is wind you up. And then that's why this thing, people automatically feel they have to launch this defense because it's the internet, and somebody in that gang says it and like it, so therefore I must jump to this defense and probably not even watched it, or if I'm going to watch it, I'm going to pirate it. That's the sort of people that get involved in that sort of stupidity. Like I said, I enjoyed the characters, the ship's crew. We got to meet them. We got the setting of the ship. The whole thing they made, that was another thing. The whole thing about the knocking, that on the deck and stuff, right? They made a big thing about that in the trailer. We get no payoff for that. There is no rhyme, the reason, or whatever. It's sort of mentioned briefly at the end of each watch and shift, but there's no like different knocks for whatever. It's just a jumbled mess. Here was an idea. See, instead of the crap at the beginning, spend a bit of time on that and actually show it, being done throughout the ship and then being used. Tuesday, we're talking about Alien, and here's an example of a ship's crew, because the Alien movie could have been set on a sailing ship as much as the Nostromo, because it's the same sort of claustrophobic atmosphere, and they did a better job of communicating and actually actively going about it. There's a formula they could have followed for this, but instead of it being a xenomorph, it could have been Dracula. Just saying, there's more than enough templates out there of good storytelling that you can adapt, but they just throw all this random shit in, which doesn't add anything. I called it when I saw the trailer. I'm like, this looks like it's made for the CW. It looks like it's going to be a CW show, and I wasn't half wrong, because we'll get into this. We're in the shape here. They hear something in the crates. They open it up, and they're just girl in one of the coffins, and she's buried up there, face in dirt, but she's still alive. And then the whole discussion of throw her overboard because blah 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 blah. Oh no, I'm going to save her. Clemens jumps in because he may as well be wearing a cape and his underpants outside at this point, because that's the way they're friggin' setting him up. He's in every scene and every conversation, and I'm just, when you get that sort of rubbing you the wrong way, I was just waiting for it. I was just waiting for the race stuff, because that's what they're setting you up for. And yeah, so she gets pulled out, and no explanation, no talk. She was in the fever, and of course, Ken's like, I'll give her a blood transfusion because that works. Like blood types work, and that's not an issue. And the hygiene, because they just whack it in. Not even a bit of iodine. Like, they had iodine in the 1790s. They had iodine. So not even a bit of iodine on the thing. Just shove it in there, a big rubber tube, and you're like, yeah, that's the way it works, of course. And then it gets worse later on, because everyone has a go at different people. I was like, believe it or not, I actually already have Renfield, because I had to buy that Blu-ray, because that's an amazing movie. Nicolas Cage running about that ship would have been brilliant. Do you know what? That would have been so much fun. Like a Renfield's, Nicolas Cage's Dracula running about the Demeter, and that's it. That would have been fun for a scene, but bloody expensive just for a quick shot. That's still my favorite recent movie of all time. Like, I've watched that I don't know how many times now, and I'm still laughing at it. It's just such a brilliant movie. But anyway, back to this. We'll get that whole thing with her, and then Craig's having a night, and of course, you bastards, you kill the dog. You kill, is it Toby? What's the wee guy's name? Toby, yeah, the wee boy. His dog, of course, starts growling and hears something, and of course we get that in the background. But it wasn't even enough to have all the livestock for the voyage. And of course it gets wiped out in one fell swoop. I'm sorry, I'm no vampire lore master, but they're showing rampant destruction for the sake of rampant destruction. So it turns out, like, we'll see this girl, she's obviously been put in the crate for the journey, a snack. So how did they only pack one peasant girl and then need to, like, and it's not even, because I hate the way they do this with vampire movies. Blood's everywhere, and you're like, you're a hungry vampire. Why are you going to take it's like just taking a bite out of random things and not finishing your meal. Like, if you're going to suckle at a pig, you may as well just drain one pig and then save the rest for later on. This is where the sake of trying to get a scare for the sake of trying to get one doesn't fit in with the tense atmosphere of the story you're trying to tell. This is where it sort of devolves into farce. So, of course, we'll have to get the scene where all the livestock is completely annihilated. Like even the chickens. Just whatever. Then the crew members start going missing. This is kind of the way the movie goes. Do they see him? Do they not see him? Oh my god, this has to be the worst looking Dracula ever. I mean, it looks like Gollum, right? It looks like a really bad rendered Gollum. And it looks proper CGI. Like terrible. And even one of the like when they go and start opening all the crates, they're filled with earth. Only one peasant girl, by the way, for the whole journey. And the villagers willingly give over. It turns out they willingly give over because when she's a plot device, she wakes up to explain what's going on. And yeah, he only packs one for the journey. And funny enough, he doesn't rip her throat out straight away. He's been munching on her like steadily throughout the voyage. But then he needs to eat every animal and then work his way through the crew. And once again, he's not draining them dry. You know what I mean? He's not like having a good meal and pacing himself. It just doesn't. The book would have been. I don't know. I should have got the book again and reread it before doing this. To reread those notes because I know they were talking about stuff, but at the end of the day, it was a rampage. Dracula just wiped the ball out on one go. At the end of the day, it was brutal. That was the whole point. And they did well at the start. I mean, the idea of the ship crashing and the scene on board, and they didn't show it to you, which was useful because you have to fill in the blanks of the horror, which is decent enough. But yeah, they kind of struggle where to go because there ends up just being a lot of filler in this. Because what can you do with a story that he basically goes about wahaha, and then after they find the animals and stuff, they don't think at that point when they have a full crew to go searching the ship. Yeah. It just they think it's rabies, and one of the crew member then turns and he starts going about like a zombie, and then he burns up in the sun. At that point, that like they're still. It's only until like the last act of the movie they said, right, let's make a plan to try and capture this thing and go hunting, and they even go through his like all the crates. And that's what I said, they only pack one, and then they find the one with his cane. Because why would he pack his cane in the thing with dirt? That's what annoys me about the way they portrayed this Dracula, because he would have that in a separate. If he has to lie in the dirt of his homeland, he would do it in his vampire form, but he would have all his nice clothes and stuff in a dresser because he's still aristocrat, so to speak, and a sense of style, and that's the whole point of Dracula. It's not the inhuman monsters, the seductive side of him, which is the dangerous part. You become a willing participant. Yeah, this just goes on, and they're dancing about, and of course to do the splitting up and going off in their own thing, and then wahaha, Dracula gets them. It's just like I said, you'd lost any sense. They had a bit at the beginning of him being on board, but then you kind of lose that because everyone starts just doing silly things, and you lose involvement in the crew because they don't really like they're just acting competently. And sailors back in the day were tough. They're not like today. Sailors, like to go on an open mass rig and sail into the unknown and trust nothing but the stars and all that kind of, you know, I mean, you had to be pretty robust. So sailors weren't people at this era. They weren't people to mess with. Plus, as well, they had to be ready because of pirates and everything. You know, it was just you had a different sort of person. I would actually argue the fact that the original, like, sort of Nelson's navy and that were tougher than maybe the army. I would say they had it tougher just with the conditions. And then obviously technology, as it always does, you know, softened everything. But they were acting like a bunch, you know, they were acting like a bunch of wimps, but they hadn't encountered what it was. I can understand them falling to pieces encountering Dracula himself, but when they thought it was a stowaway or something, or maybe, you know what I mean, they would have been ready to tear whatever it was apart, but it didn't happen. Then the bit that really, as it goes on, then we have Clemens give this weird speech just in the middle of everything to the captain. He's all like, I was educated in the first black man to be educated in Cambridge, and do you know what? Nobody would employ me as a doctor, blah, 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 blah. And you're like, all right, it's one of these freaking movies, and it's an American company, he's made it, and it's an American actor pretending to be English, etc., and no idea about the British class system. We have enough problems here with the class system, and if you understand that, it just makes this story bullshit, because if I had to pick like University of Hull or something, but even then, at that time, to get into university and become trained doctor, you need a sponsor. You don't just rock up. This is sort of the American attitude of 21st century of, you know, I got my college degree sort of thing. That didn't happen back then. If you weren't part of the nobility or like upper middle class, you didn't go to university, and you definitely didn't become a doctor. That's why, God, what was that? There's an insurance company that was basically originally started for clerics and medics, because they were like the top tier, and you did not get into that circle unless you were part of the aristocracy. So for some black man to just randomly turn up without being nobility himself, not saying it didn't happen, but you didn't get in there unless you were nobility, and definitely not to Cambridge. And if you came out of Cambridge with a degree, it didn't matter whether you're black, blue, purple, pink, or green. If you had that, oh, I went to Cambridge and I am a qualified doctor, doors would open for you. End of story. So this is just 21st century, modern day bullshit just inserted for absolutely no reason, because they weren't even, you know, I mean, he was treated as part of the crew, he got on, and it's just this, they were just, you knew they were itching to bring it up. And that's what makes this just fucking boring, because there's no need for it. It's not that type of movie. And they just had to put that crap into it, out of context, wrong time, wrong, you know what I mean, wrong situation, everything else. And it just makes no sense. And it's just thrown in because somebody had to tick a box to get a Hollywood contract to get this thing distributed. And they didn't even get it distributed properly because Universal are morons. There you go. There's my rant on that. I was waiting for it since the first scene we saw Clemens. Just the way they were framing it and the way they were using the dialogue, you're just waiting for it to come up. Because they were etching at it, you know, and you're like, do you know what? If you had spent half your effort on making a compelling story, then and actually a bit of tension, you might have done better. And then you might have got your message across. But nah, that's the problem with this activism stuff. It's only a veneer to hide mediocrity. You know, it's the people that preach it don't believe it. They really don't. It's just the words to say, to use as sword and shield to cover their own crap, because they're just hacks, a lot of them. And it's obvious with this movie. You can see that they were trying to tell one story, and then all this guff is being thrown in just randomly. So there's two sets going on here, and just the way this movie went out, you can tell there was problems. So blah blah blah. It goes on. They try to capture Dracula. It doesn't work. Who was the chef? Joseph. Right. Joseph tries to get off the ship. He drops onto one of the lifeboats and sails away. And of course, Dracula flies over and decides to pick him off and then pushes the boat back for no reason, just to make sure nobody survives. And yeah, it just gets silly. And Anna, the girl, the snack, you know, I mean, the in-flight meal, she won't shut up the whole way through. I mean, she doesn't speak for about 5 minutes, and then she gets her voice. She won't shut up through this entire movie. Oh, they do this and they do that, and you're like, yeah, I know your exposition, but shut up. She adds nothing to the plot, apart from her heroic death at the end, you know, because she's been turned into a vampire. Yeah, God, it was tricky. But guess who? Guess who survives? You know, I mean, because this plays out as it's meant to, except Clemens survives. He gets off in a bit of raft or a bit of wood or something, floats ashore, landing on the English Channel into London. And this, but I had to check this out because at the start it says this, like I said, it ends up in Whitby, and I'm like, how the hell does this boat end up in Whitby? That makes no sense. They get through the English, you know, for the route they were going, and then they have the whole bit. Just you're seeing the cliffs of Dover. Oh, we're hitting the English shore, and you're like, there's no way that would have made it through. It would have to have happened right in the that's about apparently in the book it does land just below Whitby, but you're like, there's no way that just sailed through the English Channel, one of the, even back then, one of the busiest straits of water, and then go all the way around up to the North Sea. I really am struggling with that one. Like I said, I would need to go back to the book again and see, did they go, because this came from Romania and it went obviously through the Mediterranean, and they mention God, what was it, the Strait of, but basically, you know, they mentioned parts of it, so it goes through the Mediterranean, south of France, you know, that way. So there's no way they're coming in from the north of the North Sea to hit Whitby, but it just doesn't make sense. If the ship got you know, no crew and just on its own volition, would not get up there without crashing into something first. The English Channel is not a nice stretch of water. But there you go. I suppose that's where you're supposed to drop. I never thought about that before, to be honest. It was a detail in the book I never really thought about. It's only because this movie annoyed me. Like, I've had this conversation 100 times. If you like a movie, you forgive a lot of things. If a movie starts rubbing you up the wrong way, then you start looking into all the details and you're like, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. And that bit was like, yeah, that's a bit of a stretch. If you gotta get an atlas out, have a nosy. And if you understand the sort of ocean that surrounds the British Isles, not a pleasant place, especially if you're heading further up north, towards the North Sea. You're just asking for trouble. A ship to make it that far and then crash where it crashed just doesn't make sense. It would have already been wiped out well before that. So I'll need to look at the book because I'm pretty sure it followed the same direction. Because if you're going from Romania, like unless you're going up through the Russian Bering Straits, which would be a bit of a crazy journey, I don't see it how it happened. So maybe that's a bit of a fluff up on Bram Stoker's part. He should have got his map out and thought about things a bit better because, like if I had a crash in Kent or somewhere, it would have made more sense, or on the cliffs itself. But hey ho, yeah. But Clement survives, which you knew he would, because that's the way this movie's framed. That was so obvious and boring and tedious, that aspect of it. This isn't the movie you bring the race stuff into. There's loads of stories if you want to talk about race stuff you bring into. but not this. And plus, ships' crews, especially privateers, were every, you know what I mean, they got picked up on a port, so it was whoever was on the port. That is not spectacular. Yeah, whatever, 2023, you have to shove this stuff in, and you have to make these points, because you have to show your virtue. I always worry about people that feel they have to show their virtue. The ones that have to tell you how nice a person they are. You kind of have to look at them sideways and go, really, are you? What skeletons have you got in your closet? Who's chained up in your basement, sort of thing? I always, especially their behavior, it just makes me think, yeah, okay, whatever. But yeah, Clemens ends up in London. He's he's decided he's going to hunt Dracula himself, so he's now busy taking over the role of Van Helsing. Because, yeah, why not? Why not just have him as like I said, he may as well wear a cape and his underpants outside throughout this movie. It was a Clemens movie. Then we get this weird knock, as if the ship, and Dracula's sitting across the bar from him. And of course, Dracula's sitting like CGI Dracula face, because obviously they couldn't find an actor. I think the Dracula in his human form is meant to be seductive, imposing, an aristocrat, so many people fawn themselves over. That's the whole allure of him. And then you see Monster Dracula, but they just have him going around with CGI. He may as well have had his wings, wearing a suit and his wings fucking tucked in. It was whatever. And then it's set up for the sequel. He's now chasing after Dracula. By the way, he's no weapons. He hasn't done any research, so he's not carrying stakes or anything. He's just going to run after him with a wee book. This thing that wiped out his entire crew of the ship he was serving on, and nobody had a chance, and they had guns and they had swords and everything. But yeah, he's just going to chase after him. And Dracula knows he's doing it, so yeah, there's no element of surprise. Yeah, that was it. That was the end of the movie. Friggin' annoying, honestly. This had so much potential to be a great movie, because it looked good. Honestly, it looked good. Apart from Dracula, everything else looked good. Like, that's what they really screwed up, was the CGI Dracula. It looked awful. If you want to see another film by comparison, check out Blood Vessel. We reviewed it. In fact, I need to go back and see way early on in the channel. We reviewed it years ago. This Blood Vessel was set during World War II, the end of World War II, and a group of survivors from a Royal Navy ship that was sank end up floating and finding a Nazi research vessel, and there's 3 vampires on board, and it's 30 Days of Night type vampires, and it's their costumes. And this is a movie for Shudder. This wasn't made by Universal. I think this is a movie for Shudder, and their costumes and makeup and special effects is so much better. And this is a full studio. Like, this was 45 million. This cost. Let me look up Blood Vessel. Blood Vessel made in 2019. And it doesn't tell you shit. No, it was because made straight for video on demand. So they're very coy about the cost of stuff when it's made video on demand. But there's a straight VOD film about vampire, effectively a Dracula character on a ship, and they were terrifying. I mean, they were really good. The costumes and that, and the sinister aspect of them, and even the young girl vampire, the actress that played her, was brilliant. And you had a mixed crew of all sorts, and they played with they used the language of the time. Here's another thing that gets me. Right, that movie Blood Vessel, they used the language, they used 20th century sort of language, 1930s. They used the inflections and intonations. This is just 2023. There is no attempt whatsoever to use the language or intonations of the day. So lazy. You know, they may as well have been on a cruise ship. They may as well have just had a car driving up. It was just that sort of, thing. But hey ho. They like taking vampires or alien creatures can't be defeated by cross or garlic. Yeah, no, but the traditional vampire, and this is I've talked about this before. In fact, that's why after we finish Anomaly, Cameron, Adam, and I were going to look at the original Universal monsters. There's something about the original fairy tales, and believe it or not, and I'm not a Christian, but the whole religious aspect of it is fascinating. The spiritual aspect of it, and the needing, having to go through certain rituals and finding out what works and what doesn't. It's a tale as old as time, and it works. This is where they started screwing up, and my complaint about the modern monster. They don't know. Dracula's not Dracula anymore. A vampire's not a vampire. A werewolf's not a werewolf. A zombie's not a zombie. It's this homogenous mess. And because there's even a cross here, and it didn't phase. It was briefly Toby had it, but he, it had no effect on him. And you're like, that's not the point. The point was, how do you defeat yourself? Or sorry, how do you protect yourself against it? And then, if you remember Bram Stoker's Dracula, the opening the village in Romania, they all have the garlic bulbs and the, hanging from the door, and it's a strange tradition, and people don't know why. God, it wasn't Renfield. Who was it? God, I'm showing my age. I haven't watched these in ages. I need to revisit all this. But yeah, when I started asking, it's from folklore. But folklore, where does folklore come from? Where does all this stuff happened? Etc. etc. It's all fascinating. And why mess with that? Use your imagination, create a new creature. That's the beauty of horror, and that's the beauty of monsters. You can go mental, you can go nuts, and you can create anything, and you can create out of any lore. There's a whole world out there of lore you can use. And in fact, even today, it's even easier to get something from the top of a Tibetan mountain into the middle of New York, for example. That's it. And then the research to find out the particular ritual. And that's why is it reversed? Because it's come from a god or a demon and blah, blah, blah. It's cursed. That's the tragedy of the creatures as well. Dracula Untold had a good crack at it, telling Vlad's story before he became Dracula. That he has cursed to walk the earth. That's perfect. Same as Wolfman, it's a curse. It's not a blessing. Frankenstein's monster, once again, he's cursed. He didn't ask to be brought to life. It was a mad scientist that did it. These tales have served as a warning as much as anything. They're developed, and they come from the human psyche. They come from us trying to rationalize the world and keep ourselves safe. That's what makes the human creature so unique. But now you've got these kids, because they're adult babies that are live pampered lifestyles, and their whole thing is just this, I can't think of anything new. Let's just use something there and do it. And especially the movie industry has just become horrendous. There's no passion there anymore. There's a handful of directors, count them one hand, of directors that are still passionate. Most of them are just dialing it in. It's a gig for money, and they don't care. And the studios don't care because they hate the audience. They see the audience stupid, and the audience will just turn up. It's the same. It's a fast food chain. Like I said, it's fast food chains don't try, but you know what you're going there. But when you go to watch a movie, you expect something, and there's also this thumbing your nose down at horror fans. oh, it's a horror movie. It's for horror fans. They don't care. They're stupid. You know, I mean, that's the attitude, and things I guess kind of bring it to the fore. But I could watch it. Right, I could watch this again in the background. So let me put it this way: there was enough. Clement's character annoyed me because of just the way he was inserted, and it's just so obvious. Uh, couldn't be arsed with him. But the rest of the characters in this are actually quite decent. The way the now the storylines are a bit stupid, but you've got good characters in this, and you do get good bits of tension when they get a chance to actually betray it. And like I said, the ship is great. It looks the part. You get that claustrophobia, etc. Oh, why did they stick the coffins in the nets? They stuck them in the cargo nets, not actually on the deck. No, and it was that's another stupid thing. You put sacks in the, things like that, especially precious cargo. You strap the bloody deck. You don't have it hanging. That was another stupid thing they've done because they needed it to fall and crack open. Because a stupid things like that that take away from what could have been a really tight thrilling drama. They could have taken a leaf from the Witch's book. Think about Robert Eggers, the way he wrote The Witch. The Witch wasn't featured that much in it. It was a tension between the family as the paranoia sets in. This was the perfect setting for it. Look at the Nostromo. Well, I'm not gonna. We're talking about it on Tuesday, but you could use the elements of the plight of the crew in the Nostromo because you don't see the alien that much. It's not like the alien's jumping out. Dracula was jumping out every other scene, going "Bwah!" Of the monster, keep the shadow, especially with that CGI. You should have shown less. But there you go. There's my review. I would stick it on in the background again. It wasn't like totally hit it. It was just so disappointing. There was no need for, like, once again, it wasn't budget. It was storytelling. Just sort the storytelling out. Get that down, and everything else falls into place. But there you go. Do you agree, disagree? Have you seen this? Let me know what you think. Once again, Chris, thanks very much for the Blu-ray. I appreciate the thought, because honestly, I wouldn't have watched this because all the guff. I wouldn't even have seen it. I don't agree with the way the internet goes and talks about these movies because it just becomes stupid. You don't get to actually go into the nitty-gritty of the hows and whys. It just becomes, oh, you hate this, so you're in this camp and blah, blah, blah. And you can kind of see why. Just lazy writing again. But c'est la vie. Thanks everyone that tuned in. As always, keep up to the channel, do the type of clicky things. Until next time, keep it creepy, keep it horrific.